Dan Mitchell, who is chairman of the Center for Freedom and Prosperity, joins me now to talk about this unemployment sector and this very new thing that we're seeing here. Dan, thank you for being here. Good to see you. That's a first. I mean, we've more people or more jobs than people to fill them, which could also be a bad thing. How unusual? I mean, obviously, it's the first time that it's ever happened, but kind of explain to folks really how kind of impressive that is.
It's very impressive because you want higher wages for workers. That's ultimately the goal, to have a healthy economy where people can support themselves and their families. Now, let me give a caveat here. The number of unemployed is simply based on those who answer surveys and say that they're looking for a job. We still have a lot of people who left the workforce over the last 10, 15 years. Some of them are coming back in. That's a very positive result. If more came back in, these numbers in the CNBC story might not hold any longer, but that would still be a positive sign. We want to encourage the discouraged people back into the labor force. But right now, there's no other way of interpreting these numbers than as a very positive sign.
I was reading also that there were a lot of individuals who were in part-time jobs because the full-time work just isn't out there, which of course that can also kind of have a downside effect in terms of economic health overall.
It depends on what people want, ultimately. Some people want part-time jobs. Some people want full-time jobs. But obviously, if some people are only working part-time and would like a full-time job with higher pay, better benefits, yes, we should never give up striving to make the economy even healthier. Now, I gave one caveat. Let me give another caveat. If we were having this interview in 2006, we might be talking about how strong the housing market was. So economists are lousy forecasters. We might be pretty good about interpreting data that we see today, but let's always keep in the back of our mind that we don't know what the future brings. We don't know whether the Fed has kept easy money going for too long and whether there's going to be a hangover from that at some point. But it was very, very good for the economy to reform the tax code a bit. Deregulation has been very, very helpful. Now, I do worry that some of those benefits are being offset by the wasteful spending and by the protectionism. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all comes out.
If tax cuts aren't made permanent, what effect is that going to have on the numbers that we're seeing now, at least, just for the ones that have been displayed with the CNBC report?
The good news is that sort of the crown jewel, if you will, of the Trump tax cuts and tax reform, the corporate tax rate reduction, that is permanent. The parts of the tax bill that weren't permanent were the parts that benefit you and me, Dana. Our income tax changes expire at the end of, I think, December 31st, 2025. Yeah. Now, that will cause some economic uncertainty as we get closer to that point in time. Obviously, it's only 2018. This is a couple of years in the future before we have to worry about that.
Yeah, well, thankfully, hopefully we can get that solved before that point. Dan Mitchell, always good to see you, Dan. Thanks for breaking it down for us. Good to see you.